Kansas. We need to do an actual segment breaking down Kansas here. If you missed all the drama, Kansas fans came after us because in 2 weeks ago's episode, we were talking about Illinois breaking down their secret scrimmage with Kansas. Illinois won that. And I made some passing off the cuff comments during a timed segment where we were analyzing Illinois that essentially said, I think Kansas is overrated. And I believe you and I both threw out a couple different players stink. I said Grady Dick stinks. You said Jalen Wilson stinks. Kansas fans didn't like that. This is the first time Kansas fans have ever seen us. A big Kansas account, Braden something. No, I don't mean that as disrespect. I'm just forgetting his last name. Braden Turner. Thank you. He tweeted out the clip and everybody was on our ass. We invited Braden on the show. He agreed to do the show. And then he had some issues personally the morning of that he did not appear on the show. So long story short, we need to talk about Kansas. Kansas, the Jayhawks, Cart, down 20-4 to Pittsburg State without an H in their exhibition game this week. 20-4, 8 minutes into their season, down to Pittsburg State without an H. Would you like to clarify anything on your beliefs on this Kansas team?
And then they won by 30, right?
We don't care about that part. We just care about
well, first off, let me clear out my comments. I'm always going to say Jalen Wilson stinks, okay? This stems way back to the Beeline days. It is.
I know it does, but I thought we were doing this to like kind of clear the air and just like provide some actual analysis. I didn't think you were immediately doubling down on I'm always going to say Jalen Wilson stinks.
Oh, well, he's a good player. He's a good player, but if you ask me, I'm always going to say he stinks. That's how it's going to be. He could be a top 5 future NBA player. That's what it's always going to be. Also, he tweeted at us and called us clowns and UNC fans. Rude. If you're gonna shoot 27% from 3, you better lower your tone. But what the real thing with this Kansas team is, like Greg, we talked about this. They lost 2 first-round NBA draft picks. One of them being the Big 12 Player of the Year, first team All-American. I think he was top 5 in consensus for the Player of the Year award. I mean, losing a guy like Ochai Agbaji, losing a guy like Christian Brown, losing a guy like Remy Martin off the bench, that's not a loss that you can take lightly. Yes, recruits come in. I like MJ Rice. I like Grady Dick as well. I know you said Grady Dick stinks, but I think that was just a in passing thing. But Grady Dick is a good player. But to expect them to come in and replace 2 first-round NBA draft picks, and for all the shit that David McCormick got last year, like he was still a very solid starting center for a national championship team. And you can't like just brush past that. So they're replacing a lot on this team. So being down on them, we're not saying they're going to miss the tournament, but is Kansas a top 5 preseason national team to me? No, they're not. I don't think that. I think they should be more in that 10 to 15 range, if anything. Yeah, so that's all I'm saying about Kansas.
I think McCormick is, other than Agbaji, I think he's the biggest loss because I don't trust any of their options at center right now. I know Ernest Uday might be the answer there, but McCormick got a lot of shit from Kansas fans and from national people last year, and he was awesome in the NCAA tournament. It's part of why they won the title.
I would kill for McCormick on Michigan State's team right now.
Right. Look, here's just to clarify. Did I say Grady Dick stinks? Yes. And again, the context of that is we say people stink all the time. If you want to criticize us that's lazy analysis and you don't like listening to it, I think that's a fair criticism. That's just our vernacular. That's how we talk. We talk about our own teams like that. Grady Dick is obviously a very good basketball player. He's a highly touted recruit who I think is going to have a very good statistical season for Kansas. My context of saying he stinks when evaluating why Kansas is overrated, I don't think Grady Dick can be the first option on a championship level team, Cart. And that's where I'm stuck here because offensively, this team's going to struggle. And part of that is because of who Jalen Wilson is as a player. And he can tweet at us that we're clowns, but Jalen Wilson is never going to be an efficient shooter from behind the arc. He's just not that guy. Jalen Wilson is much better served as a second, third option scorer. And if he is your second, third option scorer, your team's really, really good. Or 4, like you're saying. But the problem is this team needs him to be number 1. And if it's not him, it needs to be Grady Dick. And that's where the context comes in for me. Grady Dick also needs to be put in a different role. It reminds me to go back to my Michigan comps I always make. Like that team that Trey Burke was on, like Nick Stauskas was their 5th option. And he had 6 threes in tourney game. That's the role that on a great team, Grady Dick would play this year. And instead, Kansas needs him to be the guy right away. And I don't know that he's going to be ready. That's not saying he's a bad basketball player. That's saying in the context of why I think Kansas is overrated, Grady Dick can't be your first option, and they need him to be because they're limited everywhere else. So right. I don't know what to make of it. Look, are they going to win a lot of games? Hell yeah, of course. Bill Self is the GOAT. I mean, straight up, like if you're picking a guy to run your college basketball program and you don't care about the FBI's involvement, you would take Bill Self. I'm with that. Like he wins his conference almost every single year. This year, they're going to be in the mix, but they're not as good as Baylor. And I think it's more likely they make the tournament in the mid-range 4 or 5 seed this year than it is they have a 1 seed and they're contending for championships. That's where I stand.
And that is a completely okay take. And if that upsets you and people are very upset about saying not nice things about your team, I mean, we're Michigan State. I'm a Michigan State fan. I say not nice things about my team all the time, and I don't get upset when people don't say not nice things about my team. It's not that deep.
Watch. Let's just go through the most. Like AJ Hogarth stinks. You want to tell me somebody stinks from my team? Like,
yeah, Terrence Williams stinks.
They stink. It is what it is. It's how we talk, Kansas fans. I'm sorry. Rock chalk. Let's go. Your team just made a bowl game. Go celebrate that. Go try to fill 50% capacity of your football stadium for once. See what happens.
Oh, Gregory,
all right.
Gregory.